The tavern smelled of old oak and smoke, a comforting scent for those who sought refuge from the cold night. Flames from a small hearth flickered in rhythm with the rain outside, casting shadows on the worn wooden walls. At the far end, alone, sat a dragon woman named Lisa. Her scales shimmered faintly even in the dim light, a muted silver green that had once dazzled kingdoms. Now they were a silent reminder of her exile. Lysara's claws curled around a goblet of dark ale. She had once been a respected leader among her kind, a guardian of her clan's sacred archives, a master of diplomacy and battle. But betrayal had driven her from her home. False accusations, political schemes, and envy had forced her to flee. The tavern's warmth could not reach the cold hollow in her heart. Another? The barkeep asked, though his voice carried more pity than annoyance. Lysara only shook her head. Words were pointless. They never brought back what was lost. She took a slow sip, savoring the bitter taste that matched her mood. Her mind wandered to memories of her home, the endless skies she had soared, the mountains that had once echoed with her laughter and song. They were gone, as if swallowed by a cruel fate. The door to the tavern opened suddenly, and a small figure rushed inside, dripping with rainwater. Lysara's eyes, sharp as a hawk's even in the dim light, noticed the child immediately. A young girl, maybe 10 or 11, human by her appearance, with tangled hair and eyes wide with both fear and curiosity. She clutched a small bundle against her chest. "Excuse me." The girl's voice trembled, but she held herself with a courage that made Lysara raise an eyebrow. Are you alone?" Lysara's tail flicked, a subtle warning. "That's none of your concern," she replied softly, though not unkindly. The girl didn't flinch. "I need help, please, my dad. He's gone, and I don't know what to do." Her eyes filled with tears, and the sight tugged at something long buried inside Lysara, a memory of loss, of helplessness, and of someone needing her. Lysara's instincts, honed over decades, kicked in. She set her goblet down, her massive frame rising to full height. The tavern's other patrons went silent, unsure if the dragon woman would react violently. But Lysara only knelt, bringing her eyes level with the trembling child. "Sit," she said, her voice low but warm. "Tell me everything." The girl, whose name was Mara, did as she was told. Between sobs, she recounted how her father, a war veteran, had fallen in battle, leaving her alone. She had no family nearby, and the town they had once lived in was dangerous for a child alone. She had heard rumors of a dragon woman who once protected the surrounding lands, someone kind yet powerful. And now, standing before her, was Lysara herself. Mara's plea was simple, yet it carried the weight of desperation. "Please, be my mum." "And my dad's wife," Lysara blinked. The words hit her like a tidal wave, strange and impossible. She had no desire to return to human society, no intention to entangle herself in another's life. She had been cast out once. She would not be caught again. Yet, as she looked into Mara's eyes, she saw something more. Hope. Not just for the child, but for herself. A chance, perhaps, to belong somewhere again. To matter to someone again. "You?" "What did you say?" Lysara asked, her voice unsteady. "I said, be my mum." "And my dad's wife," Mara repeated, a small, hopeful smile breaking through her tears. Lysara's mind raced. She had never been a mother, never imagined a life of domestic warmth, but the longing in the girl's eyes, so raw and unfiltered, awakened something dormant in her heart. "You know, this is not how things usually work," she said cautiously. "I am not human, and I am not suitable. Who cares?" Mara's defiance surprised her. "I don't care if you're a dragon woman. I want you. You're kind and brave and everything my dad would have wanted me to have. Please." Lysera felt the last walls around her heart crumble. She reached out, letting a clawed hand hover over Mara's shoulder. The warmth of the girl's skin beneath her scaled fingers felt. "Right, very well," Lysera said, her voice thick with emotion. "I will try. But understand, this will not be easy. You and I, we will have to learn from each other." Mara's eyes lit up like stars. "I'll learn. I promise. I just want someone to be with me. Someone who cares." The dragon woman allowed herself a small smile. Perhaps this was her second chance. Perhaps she could forge a life not defined by exile and betrayal, but by care, protection, and love. The days that followed were not simple. Lysera taught Mara how to survive in a dangerous world, from self-defense to understanding the creatures of the forest surrounding their new home. Mara, in turn, taught Lysera how to cook simple meals, how to read human books, and, most importantly, how to laugh again. The villagers were initially wary of the dragon woman living with a human child. Whispers followed them wherever they went. But Lysera's courage and the child's innocence gradually turned suspicion into admiration. Lysera became more than just an exiled warrior. She became a guardian, a symbol of resilience. One evening, as they sat by a campfire outside their modest cabin, Mara leaned against Lysera's scaled side. "Do you think Dad would like you?" she asked softly. Lysera chuckled, a deep, rumbling sound that made the fire flicker. "I think your father would be proud," she said. Proud that his daughter found someone strong enough to keep her safe, yet gentle enough to love her. Mara yawned and nestled closer. "Then it's perfect." For the first time in decades, Lysera felt a sense of peace. Her past, her exile, her betrayals, her loneliness still lingered, but it no longer defined her. She had a purpose, a family, and a reason to rise each day. And perhaps, she realized, this little human girl had saved her as much as she had saved the girl. Months passed, and their bond only grew stronger. Mara became fearless, her father's courage reflected in her actions, while Lysera discovered the joy of teaching, of nurturing, and of belonging. Together, they became an unusual family, a dragon woman and a human child, bound not by blood but by choice, love, and loyalty. One morning, Mara looked up at Lysera with a mischievous grin. "You know, Mum, I think you're the best mum in the world, and the best wife for my dad, too." Lysera laughed, a sound that echoed across the valley. "I think I'll keep that title." "For a while," she replied, ruffling Mara's hair with a claw. And so, in a world that had once cast her aside, Lysera found her place again, not as a warrior, not as an exile, but as a mother and protector. And for the first time in her long life, she truly belonged.